fanboys that joins them. So let's take a look at an example. You could get a job at a convenience store. That is a simple sentence. That is an independent clause. You is the subject, get is the verb. You could get a job at a cafe. That's an independent clause. You is the subject, get a job is the verb. So we're combining those two independent clauses using or. That's activity 2. Very simple. Underline and italicize. Underline the independent clauses, italicize the fanboys. All right. And activity 3. Oh, I'm sorry. That is activity 2. Okay. Activity 3, combining independent clauses to make compound sentences. So for activity 3, which is down here, there are 5 pairs of independent clauses. You want to combine them using fanboys. You want to make compound sentences. So let's take a look here. Here's an example. These are 2 independent clauses. I don't have enough cash. I is the subject, have is the verb. The second independent clause, I bought the bicycle with my credit card. I is the subject, bought is the verb. So we want to combine these using fanboys. So what is the correct fanboys to use here? I did not have enough cash. I bought the bicycle with my credit card. In this sentence, it sounds like here's the cause, here's the effect. Cause and effect. So fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Which word expresses cause and effect? So, oops. Oops, hold on 1 second here. Okay, yeah, let me just, sorry about this. Actually, I rearranged some slides to make this presentation. And okay, sorry about that. Let me go back. Okay. So, like we were just talking about, for number 1, I did not have enough cash. That's like the cause. The effect is I bought the bicycle with my credit card. So what fanboys can we use to combine them? So I did not have enough cash, so I bought the bicycle with my credit card. All right, so for activity 3, let me go back to here. You want to combine these 5 pairs of independent clause with fanboys to make compound sentences. So here's an example. The street food in China looked disgusting. It surprisingly tasted good. So independent clause, we can combine them to make a compound sentence. The street food in China, looked disgusting. It surprisingly tasted good. What fanboys? Yet or but. The street food in China looked disgusting, but it surprisingly tasted good. Yet it surprisingly tasted good. What is the difference? So for this activity, you want to combine each pair of independent clauses to make compound sentences. Now, very quickly, let's talk about the difference between but and yet. So fanboys, for and nor but, or yet so. What is the difference between but and yet? Let me briefly go over the difference. But is like hajiman. You're just combining ideas that are opposite or different. Yet is like kurandedo. Okay, yet is kurandedo. So kurandedo and hajiman both combine ideas that are surprisingly different. So as you can see, hajiman or but, you can use in general, any situation. You can combine ideas that are opposite different, even though it's not shocking. Or you can combine ideas that are surprisingly different or shockingly different using but. But yet, you can only use if the ideas are surprisingly different. So I'm sure you feel the difference between kurandedo and hajiman. I'm sure you feel the difference. That's the difference between yet and but. So here we go. 나는 좋아해요. 내 친구가 커피를 좋아해요. So these are two independent clauses, contrasting different things, different likes. Here, okay, here's a contrast, different things, but this sounds kind of surprising. So these are two, these are Korean sentences. So in this case, you could say 하지만. You can use but. In this case, you can say either. So this is a surprising difference. This is not a very surprising difference. I like tea, my friend likes coffee. Not a big deal. Now you cannot use kurandedo here. That would sound unusual. Similarly, you shouldn't use yet here. So what are these in English? I like tea, but my friend likes coffee. Down here, the weather was wet and cold, yet we had a great time. But we had a great time. So in the second sentence, the difference is surprising. The weather was wet and cold, yet we had a great time. So it's a surprising difference. I like tea, but my friend likes coffee. That's not shocking or surprising. That's normal. People like different beverages. So this, I believe, sounds very unusual, doesn't it? This is okay, because this sounds unusual because this is not surprising or shocking, the difference. Similarly, in that situation, you cannot say yet. You need to say but. Okay, hold on one second, because my PowerPoint sometimes gets extremely slow. So hold on one second. Slide 66. Oh, okay. Hopefully this will work. Okay. Yeah, let me get back here. Okay, so activity 3. Oh, once again, activity 3, just combine these sentences. I'm sorry, combine these pairs of independent clauses to make compound sentences. And you want to use fanboys. For some of the sentences, maybe more than one fanboys works. That's okay, just do your best. Try to choose the correct one. We will go over this in class. Okay, activity 4, writing compound sentences. So for activity 4, write 3 compound sentences about yourself, your family, etc. For example, my mom worked at a bookstore and my dad worked for the government. That's in 2 independent clauses, make a compound sentence. All right, let us move on. We are moving along, and I think we are getting close to finishing. Okay, we have talked about simple sentences. We've talked about compound sentences. What's the difference between the two? Hold on a second. The TPT, my blanket's so slow. So I'm going to close it and open it. Hopefully this works. Okay, let's review very quickly the difference between simple and compound sentences. Okay, or let's take a look at differences. Okay, better, cool. Whew. So simple sentences, one independent clause. I took a bus to school the other day. I enjoy hanging out with friends. So these are simple sentences, just an independent clause. Compound sentences combine two or more independent clauses using fanboys. I like to relax on vacation, and I like to try different types of food. The iPhone 16 won't be cheap, nor will it be easy to get right away. So we're combining two independent clauses to make a compound sentence. Okay. Now, what is a complex sentence? So simple means basic. Complex means advanced. So how or why are complex sentences advanced? Let's take a look. So do you remember we talked about different types of clauses? We said independent clauses and dependent clauses. Independent clause is a complete thought. Dependent clause is an incomplete thought. Both independent clauses and dependent clauses, they have a subject and a verb, but an independent clause is a complete thought. A dependent clause is an incomplete thought. Well, that's what a complex sentence is. A complex sentence has one independent clause, a complete thought, and one, at least one, dependent clause, a complete thought. And for compound sentences, we use fanboys to combine them. With complex sentences, we use different types of conjunctions called subordinating conjunctions. There are so many, too many to list. But some examples are while, when, who, where. And there are three kinds of dependent clauses: adverb, adjective, and noun clauses. So here's an example. When I found out my Suning score, I was happy. Here's another one. I brushed my teeth as soon as I woke up. So do you remember in activity 1 of the clauses? Oh, hold on a second. So do you remember in this activity, activity 1, where you identified independent clauses and dependent clauses? Well, that's kind of what we're doing here. When you make a complex sentence, when you make a complex sentence, you're combining an independent clause with a dependent clause. So in the top sentence, when I found out my Suning score, I was happy. Those are two clauses. When I found out my Suning score, I was happy. Which one is an independent clause? Which one is a complete thought? If I told you, hey, when I found out my Suning score, you would say, Robin, complete your sentence, complete your thought. But if I told you I was happy, that's a complete thought. So in the top one, I was happy is the complete thought. How about in the bottom one? I brushed my teeth. That's one clause. As soon as I woke up, that's the second clause. What's the complete thought? I brushed my teeth. So those are independent clauses. And remember, dependent clauses begin with a subordinating conjunction. When, as soon as. So what are the dependent clauses? When I found out my Suning score and as soon as I woke up. So these words are subordinating conjunctions. A subordinating conjunction always begins dependent clauses. So there are three types of clauses. Adverb clauses. Adverb clauses, they answer questions such as how, why, where, and when. This is a complex sentence. I didn't finish my homework because my friend visited me. What is the independent clause? I didn't finish my homework. What is the dependent clause? Because my friend visited me. Every dependent clause begins with a subordinating conjunction. So this dependent clause answers a question. What question does it answer? I didn't finish my homework because my friend visited me. What does because my friend visited me answer? Why? Why didn't you finish your homework? Why didn't I finish my homework? Why? Because my friend visited me. So these are adverb clauses. Another type of clause is an adjective clause. Adjectives describe nouns. Here is a complex sentence. I know the man. That's the independent clause. Who lives next door is the independent clause. It begins with a subordinating conjunction. Okay? So who describes noun? Who is this describing? It's describing the man. I know the man. What man? The man who lives next door. Finally, we have noun clauses. Noun clauses, they're nouns. They can be a subject or an object. I couldn't hear what he said. I'm sorry, what she said. This is a complex sentence. Independent clause plus a dependent clause combined. Every dependent clause begins with a subordinating conjunction. In this sentence, what is the subordinating conjunction? So this is the dependent clause. I couldn't hear is the independent clause. I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear. That's a complete thought. What she said, that is a dependent clause. Now, what she said, is that the subject of the sentence or the object? It is the object. It is the object of hear. Hear is a verb. This is the object. I couldn't hear. What couldn't you hear? I couldn't hear what she said. All right, so for activity 5, you want to identify the parts of complex sentences. So just remember, complex sentences are combinations of an independent clause with one or more dependent clauses. And every dependent clause begins with a subordinating conjunction. When, where, while, as soon as, because, if. So, activity 5, you want to identify parts of a complex sentence. So while I was studying, is that an independent clause or a dependent clause? While I was studying, of course, it's a dependent clause. My roommate was playing computer games. Independent clause. That's a complete thought. So italicize dependent clauses, underline independent clauses. So as you can see, very simple. Italicize dependent clauses, underline independent clauses. For activity 6, write a complex sentence using each of the words. So you can write about anything, but just remember a complex sentence has an independent clause, complete thought, plus a dependent clause, an incomplete thought that begins with these words. Almost done. Oh, hold on. Okay, activity 6, creating complex sentences. And finally, we're at the end. Okay, activity 7. Last one. Here are 9 sentences. In the blank, you want to write S if it's a simple sentence, CP if it's a compound sentence, CX if it's a complex sentence. So a simple sentence is an independent clause, one independent clause, one complete thought. A compound sentence is 2 independent clauses combined using fanboys. A complex sentence is an independent clause combined with a dependent clause using a subordinating conjunction. So do activity 7 also. Okay, now let's do a little review. So here are 5 questions. Let's review. What's the difference between a phrase and a clause? A phrase doesn't have a subject and a verb. A clause does have a subject and a verb. What are the 2 types of clauses? Dependent clauses and independent clauses. What's the difference between a dependent clause and an independent clause? Which one is a complete thought? A dependent clause isn't a complete thought, but an independent clause is a complete thought. What begins a dependent clause? What's at the beginning of a dependent clause? A subordinating conjunction. When, while, if, because, as soon as, so many. What is a simple sentence? It's just one independent clause. It's a complete thought. 4 more questions. A compound sentence is a combination of 2 things. What are the 2 things? Independent clause plus independent clause. How do we combine those 2 independent clauses? Fanboys. For and nor, but, or, yet. So what is the difference between but and yet? Which one is used for only surprising differences? Yet. But you can use generally for anything, any contrast or difference. Last question. A complex sentence is a combination of 2 things. What are the 2 things? An independent clause and 1 or more dependent clause. All right. Well, I hope you found this video informative. Like I said, this is like the very basics of writing, of language. And so please, after watching this video, if you have any questions, ask me in class, Kako Talk Me. We will discuss this in class. We will review it. But please, I hope you found it informative, and I will see you in class next time. Peace.